Have you ever wondered why some truths feel dangerous? Not because they're wrong, but because if you knew them, you could never live the same way again. This is one of those truths. She smiles. You see warmth. She listens. You feel seen. She touches your arm, and suddenly your mission, your discipline, your edge, all of it feels optional. A single glance and your purpose begins to blur. But this isn't love. This is design. Socrates understood something that most men today are too distracted to notice. Nature does not care about your feelings. It cares about function. And what you think is affection might simply be selection. What you call connection may be a test you're not even aware you're taking. The greatest lie modern man believes is that women are soft while he is strong. But Socrates warned, what appears soft can reshape stone. What seems passive can control without speaking. He didn't say this to condemn women. He said it to awaken men. You see, men are builders, hunters, architects of reason. But women are born strategists, not by choice but by necessity. They adapt, they conceal, they operate through suggestion, not confrontation. And the man who doesn't understand this becomes a puppet of his own delusion. He thinks he's choosing her. But he's already been chosen or discarded. Socrates saw that truth hidden behind beauty, and he dared to say it. That not all that glitters is gold, and not every loving gaze is given without a reason. To the men of Athens, he seemed cold, harsh. But the truth is, he was trying to arm them, not against women, but against the seduction of their own blindness. Because the greatest threat to a man is not a woman. It's his willingness to kneel at the altar of illusion, thinking it's love. And once you see that, you can never unsee it. Beauty is not kindness. It is not virtue. It is not even affection. Beauty is a mask, a lure, a silent whisper that says, "Come closer," without ever revealing why. Socrates understood this. He knew men fall not because women are powerful, but because men are distracted by curves, by softness, by the illusion of being wanted. A woman's beauty is not her weapon. It is your weakness. You chase her image, her fragrance, the shimmer in her eyes, and in doing so you ignore her nature. You ignore her intent. You don't ask what moves her. You don't question what she fears, what she needs, what she's calculating. You assume the glow on her skin means she's your piece. But peace is not what she offers, not at first, not without reason. She tests, always, to see if you are who you say you are. And when she senses you're not, when the mask of your confidence slips, when the mission you claim to serve wavers, she withdraws, not cruelly, naturally, because her attraction is not built on your feelings. It's built on your frame, your discipline, your direction. And when those things collapse, so does her interest. Socrates saw this in men. Their hunger for beauty made them easy to control. The moment they were enchanted, they stopped thinking. They stopped questioning. And when a man stops thinking, he becomes a tool. You think you're falling in love, but you're falling into pattern, predictable, repeatable, exploitable. She doesn't even need to manipulate you. You're already programmed. You chase her approval, not knowing it has nothing to do with you and everything to do with how well you perform. Socrates taught that wisdom begins when illusion ends. And the illusion of beauty is the first veil you must tear. She is not your enemy. But beauty, left unexamined, is. Because a man who chases form over function will always be led, never lead, always yearning, never choosing. And in that blindness, he does not love her, he worships a shadow. She does not hate you. She studies you. She listens, not always to your words, but to the tension in your voice, the inconsistency in your actions. She watches, not for strength alone, but for cracks beneath it. She waits, not to destroy you, but to understand what kind of man you are and whether you're worth following. This is not cruelty. This is biology. Socrates saw the nature of women not as evil but as strategic, not deceptive out of malice but out of necessity. For centuries, women have survived not by brute force, but by reading the room before the danger arrived, by aligning, with strength before weakness was exposed. You call it games. She calls it survival. A woman does not always choose the best man. She chooses the most stable one, the one least likely to collapse when storms hit, the one whose presence promises protection, direction, and conviction. She doesn't ask, is he kind? She asks, can I trust him to remain? And if you haven't examined yourself, your desires, your doubts, your desperation, she will. And when she finds what you're hiding from yourself, she will use it, not out of spite, out of instinct. Socrates warned that a man who is ruled by appetite cannot be trusted with power. And what is your longing for her validation, if not appetite wearing a mask? You think you're in control because you pursue her. You think your ambition is yours because she claps when you speak. But ask yourself this: would you still want that promotion, that car, that image, if no woman was watching? Would you still lift, build, grind, if no one rewarded you with affection for it? If the answer is no, then your life is not yours. It is a performance, and she can see it. Because she has to. You chase love. She chases certainty. You speak poetry. She speaks probability. Her silence is not empty. It's calculation. Her affection is not always love. It is alignment. She may kiss you and still be testing you. She may praise you and still doubt you. Because at every moment her biology is asking, can he lead? Can he hold? Can he withstand me? You are not battling her emotions. You are being measured by her instincts. And the man who does not understand this thinks her pull is destiny, when it's really a filter, a sorting mechanism, a silent ancient algorithm designed not to coddle, but to clarify. Socrates saw the danger, not in her behavior, but in the man who thinks affection means surrender, who thinks intimacy means safety. She is not your safe place until you are your own. You want her to be soft, loyal, gentle, but she is not built to follow a man who is unsure. Her biology is merciless in that way. It selects strength, not sentiment. And if you are ruled by the need to be chosen, you will do anything to be picked. You will lie. You will beg. You will mold. You will shrink. And in that shrinking, she will feel it. And walk. You think she left because you weren't enough. No. She left because you stopped being yourself. She does not want to lead. She wants to feel gravity. She wants to feel the presence of a man. Who knows who he is with or without her? This is why Socrates warned, know thyself. Not just for philosophy, but for survival. Because a man who doesn't know himself is a man who can be shaped by anyone. And a man who can be shaped will be. By her. By the world. By his own unchecked hunger. So the question is not, does she love me? The question is, have I given her something real to follow? And that begins the moment you stop chasing her and start building you. You think the battle is between you and her, but it's not. The real war is within you, between the part of you that knows your path and the part that craves to be seen, admired, touched. Socrates understood this battle. He didn't teach men to fight women. He taught them to fight illusion. Because the moment you mistake her validation for your value, you've already surrendered your power. Most men today walk around in disguise. They wear the look of ambition, the tone of discipline, the vocabulary of vision. But beneath it, they are hollow. They live not by purpose, but by applause. They post for her, they train for her, they speak for her. And if she withdraws that smile, that text, that touch, they crumble. A man cannot lead a life that depends on being liked. Socrates said the tyrant soul is one ruled by appetite, always thirsty, never filled. What is the hunger for her attention, if not appetite dressed in hope? And here's the truth no one wants to tell you: she is not your reward. She is your reflection. If you are clear, she feels it. If you are lost, she senses it. You can fake strength with your words, but not with your presence. The moment you bend your principles to win her, she loses respect. The moment you adjust your truth to keep her, she questions your value. Not because she's cruel, but because her instincts are ancient. She does not follow words. She follows gravity. Socrates lived in a time where men thought power was in conquest, in titles, and public praise. But he saw power in something rarer, self-mastery. The kind of power that no one can give you and no one can take. Ask yourself, who are you when no one is watching? Would you still speak your truth if it cost you her approval? Would you still live with integrity if it meant walking alone? Because that is the moment a boy becomes a man, not when he wins her, but when he no longer needs to. She is not looking for a man who performs strength. She's looking for a man who is strength, quietly, without needing to prove it. But most men never reach that point. They build kingdoms, not to serve a legacy, but to impress her. They dress like warriors, but think like dependents. They worship the feminine, and in doing so, they abandon their own mission. And when she leaves, as nature often does, they break. Not because she betrayed them, but because they built their entire identity around her presence. That is not love. That is weakness, disguised as romance. Socrates didn't warn men about women. He warned men about themselves, about the part of them that refuses to grow, that avoids truth, that hides behind seduction. He saw what happens when a man builds his life around someone he does not understand. He becomes a servant to uncertainty, a prisoner of approval. You must stop looking at her as the final destination. She is not the goal. She is the mirror. She reflects your discipline, your chaos, your strength, your instability. And the moment you blame her for your downfall is the moment you prove you were never ready for power. This is the real test, not of charm, not of status, but of soul. And most men fail it because they want to be chosen more than they want to become. You are not here to orbit her. You are not here to be liked, followed, or approved. You are here to build, to lead, to become a force that does not bend with the wind. She is not your compass. Your mission is. And until you return to that mission, you will continue mistaking affection for purpose, chemistry for compatibility, attention for love. But love is not what saves you. Clarity is. Conviction is. Purpose is. Socrates knew. A man governed by others will never govern himself, and a man who cannot govern himself will always be ruled by emotion, by illusion, by the very things he worships. You want to win? Then stop seeking to be understood by her and start understanding you. A man who has not examined his own desire will kneel to it, and there is no tyrant more cunning, more persuasive, more seductive than unchecked desire dressed as love. Socrates warned us not of the woman but of the man who rushes toward her without knowing why. The man who confuses longing with love, beauty with truth, chemistry with purpose. That man does not fall in love. He falls into a trance. You think you're choosing her, but most men are not choosing. They are escaping silence, escaping loneliness, escaping responsibility. They look into her eyes and see not a person but a cure, a salvation, a fantasy built to silence the war within. But no woman can silence that war. She can distract you, she can soothe you, she can reflect what you wish you were, but she cannot build you. That is not her role. You were told to pursue her. But Socrates said pursue truth. Not just philosophical truth, but the truth about yourself. Why do you need her to see you? Why do you ache when she pulls away? Why do you believe her body validates your worth? These are the questions that separate the man from the boy. The boy seeks to be cradled. The man seeks to be forged. You think she is cold when she withdraws. But ask yourself, was your strength real, or was it borrowed from her gaze? A man who draws power from a woman's affection is like a fire fed by paper, impressive at first. But short-lived, Socrates said the unexamined life is not worth living. But he went further. In Phaedrus, he said love ungoverned by reason is madness. A divine madness, yes, but madness still. He described the soul as a charioteer being pulled by two horses, one noble, one wild. The wild horse is desire, uncontrolled, impulsive, emotional. If the charioteer cannot rein it in, the soul crashes. This is what most men don't understand. They chase love not knowing it's their wild horse. They think it's a blessing. But love without reason is chaos. It's obsession, addiction, slavery to the need to feel special. You are not here to be consumed. You are here to command your life, your mind, your direction. Yes, she may be beautiful, but beauty without understanding is a spell. And a man under a spell is not in love. He is in danger. Look around. How many men have given up their mission to chase her approval? How many have walked away from truth because truth didn't make her smile? How many kings have handed over their crowns just to be called enough? This is not romance. This is surrender. And it ends where philosophy begins. In silence. In reflection. In self-governance. You cannot lead anyone, not a woman, not a child, not a people, until you have learned to lead yourself. That means being alone with your pain. That means facing your weakness without reaching for her comfort. That means building a life so aligned with your principles that her presence is a compliment, not a requirement. When you reach that level, she feels it. She doesn't test you as much because there is nothing to prove. She doesn't push for control because you cannot be controlled. She doesn't have to ask, "Where are we going?" because you are already moving with or without her. And ironically, that is when she wants to follow. Not because you begged, not because you performed, but because your gravity left her no choice. This is the paradox. The more you seek her, the more she retreats. But the more you seek truth, the more she respects. She was never the reward. She was never the prize. She was the test. And now you understand. Not to reject her, not to resent her, but to see her clearly, without illusion, without need, without fantasy. You are not here to orbit her. You are here to orbit purpose. And when you do, she may choose to walk with you. But even if she doesn't, you will not fall. Because your foundation is no longer made of longing. It is made of truth.